Yeah, I'm gonna get in real quick about conscious chain brains. See, a lot of people think that they're conscious. A lot of people think that they're aware. A lot of people think that they're awake. When a lot of people are really asleep, dreaming that they're awake, they're unconscious, but they're assuming that they're conscious. They're in an unconscious state, but in this unconscious state, they think that they're conscious. And what I mean by conscious, I'm talking about universal consciousness, higher self-awareness. I'm talking about the Ori. We're talking about higher consciousness. You know, understand what I'm saying? I'm not talking about, none of this basic mundane shit, because in all actuality, we're all conscious to some degree or some level pertaining to some things. We're all scientists. Science means to know. So we all know some things. We all specialize in certain sciences. I mean, come on. Why are we playing games? Why are we sitting here restricting ourselves and binding ourselves to these European labels, these European credentials, accolades, accomplishments, references, sources, and sites of information? Somebody always wants somebody to reference a European record or something like that. Well, my thing is, have you never ever referenced any Akashic records? Do you know what your ancestral record has written? We're talking about what these neuroscientists like to call DNA, RNA, different things like that. So these are all terms that Johnny Come Lately uses to pretty much describe ancestors. You call it DNA, I call it ancestors because it's your ancestors. You have a long line of ancestral roots, a long line of ancestral information that's inside of your body, your vehicle. Pretty much what it is you go on a road trip, you hop in a car, vehicle. Your people in Boston, they don't say car, they say car, spirit, which is driving the vehicle. They have a map. It's your DNA. It's what your ancestors are there, your map for when you're in this vehicle driving, this flesh vehicle, this physical vehicle. Your soul is just an occupant in the vehicle. Your spirit is driving. See, the thing is, oftentimes the spirit doesn't want to follow the direction of the soul. The soul is sitting, let's say, being chauffeured in the back. And let's say the soul is saying, giving a direction to the spirit, the driver. Now, the driver can take that advice, or the driver can veer off and try and do his own thing, thinking that he's taking a shortcut. And I know a way to get there faster. But the soul didn't say to go that way. See, so now we're off track, we're off course. See, but this is what the map is for, or the DNA, or the ancestral links of information. They're maps, road maps. We're traveling a path. What is the path of the soul? See, people are so caught up in this spirit thing. And this is coming from individuals that only have spirits, individuals that lack soul. Now, we know who solar beings are. The sun flares, sun rays. This is where we come from. We're sun flares. We are sun beings. We are, what do you want to call, particles of light? We are stars and bodies. Souls with bodies. Stars and bodies. We came from stardust and formed into the flesh. I'm not going to get off into all of the science and stuff like that because a lot of people are stuck on the mundane levels. So let's deal with the mundane things first. First and foremost, if we're going to deal with this conscious thing, and we'll use it in the cliche manner that people choose to use it in, this being aware, being conscious, being up on knowledge. Okay, with that being said, why are we still partaking in European things, European customs, traditions, and so forth and so on? Why are we consciously justifying, celebrating European governmental fundraisers? Why are we poisoning our children with this nonsense? Why do we insist on holding on to these things? Why are we so engulfed in this culture? See, what we don't realize is that, there's a lot of chains on the brain. You may have removed a few chains, but you haven't removed all of the chains. And see, this is the next step, or the next levels that we have to get to. We have to remove all of these chains that are binding us to the physical, and also to these Euro perversions of what we were led to believe science is, we were led to believe knowledge really is. Because in all actuality, these are perversions. There's no truth to it. These people teach you that truth is permanent, truth does not change, that truth is facts and so forth and so on. But in actuality, truth is subject to change. There's no such thing as coincidence. You know, truth, facts, illusions. What's true to one may be false to another. One man's God is another man's devil. One man's heaven is another man's hell. We're so caught up in physical terminologies, physical descriptions, and things like that that we don't realize that the soul, the spirit, is indescribable. There's no way to describe it. You can't place a gender on it. Stop placing human characteristics on things that are above or superior to human function or to human capability. See, because you're just dealing with your flesh suit, your vehicle, and what your vehicle can do. That's the physical. But when you're dealing with the spiritual is a whole different outlet. It operates totally different. This is what we need to be. See, we're so focused on what the outside of the vehicle looks like that we're not focused on what's going on inside the vehicle, who the occupants are in the vehicle, who the driver of the vehicle is. You know, most of us have been programmed and conditioned to follow a lot of misinformation, a lot of trick knowledge, you know, and so a lot of people are their third eye is in bondage. It's third eye deceptions. A lot of people think that their third eye is open, but their third eye is really closed. It's not open. It's an illusion. People are looking through their two physical eyes, you know, and they think that their third eye is the eye that's inside. But in actuality, the inner eyes come before the outer eyes. So even the concept of saying my third eye is shining or my third eye is open, don't you mean your first eye is open, your pupil, your single eye, your orphaned eye? The eye that is separate from the others? See, if you're going to deal with the physical, study the physical and comprehend it in a way that it benefits the spirit, that it benefits the soul. Because a lot of these different terms, they can be easily comprehended if we look up etymology, if we look up the origins of words. And then when you realize, when it takes you back to something that's of Latin or Greek origin, you have to think to yourself, well, what came before the Greek? Where did the Greek get their concepts from? Where did they get their knowledge from? Some people think they have to go to college to obtain knowledge. I posed the question before and I'll pose it again. Where did college get its knowledge? What came first, the college or the knowledge? It's a simple answer. Of course, the knowledge came first. Where did the knowledge come from? See, there's certain questions that people need to be asking themselves, but they're not, because they're too busy fantasizing and romanticizing about physical pleasures. They're so focused on relationships with other people. They're not thinking about the relationship with themselves. They're not learning themselves. They're not mastering themselves, but they're trying to go out and link up with other individuals. They're operating on a soulless level. They're operating like they're all spirit and no soul. They're operating like their soul doesn't have any intellect. Most people are unaware that there is soul intellect. Most people are unaware that there is spiritual ego. Spiritual ego is the spirit thriving to be like the soul, thriving to be greater than what it is, thriving to be one with the soul, which is its superior. Physical ego has you competing to do physical things and for physical accolades and to be deemed as superior amongst your physical peers. See, we have to tap out of that, you know, because the problem is, you know, when you let these people get inside of your mind, the conditioning goes on for generation and generation and generation. When you let them get inside of your blood, it's even worse when you let these parasites in, these blood pathogens. You know, they're on a path. These jinn spirits are on a path in your blood pathogens. See, understand that any European science, every truth, every lie is based off of truth. There's some truth at the foundation of every lie. So with neuroscience, yes, there is some truth in it, but it's ultimately fugazi. Neuroscience is pseudoscience. Get into the science of your ancestors, the knowledge of your ancestors. Tap into your ancestral roots. You know, my thing is this. Too many people want their ego stroked. Too many people want to be pacified with information. They want information that sounds good to them, information that sets well with them, nothing that makes them feel uncomfortable, nothing that puts them at ease. And the thing is, you need to be offended. You need to be put uneasy. You need to feel a certain type of way. You need to feel offended, because you'll remember why you were offended by something that I said, something that I did, something that I pointed out. It will stick with you. It'll plant that engram into your mind, and you'll never forget it. See, we don't need Scientology, to figure out the mind and how the mind works, or what the mind really is. Some people think the brain and the mind is the same thing. When you deal with these Europeans, understand that anything that they're giving you as of science is a perversion of indigenous sciences, indigenous spiritual practices. See, what we call spirituality, or what we used, or what we did, that may have been labeled as spirituality, these people took and perverted and turned it into something called science. See, again, science means to know. Science means knowledge. But the thing is, knowledge doesn't mean science. See, you have to go to what came first. If you're going to water the plant, I think you're going to water the plant at the root. You're not going to just pour water on its leaves or on its petals. And that's what people are doing. They're not getting to the root. They're admiring the beauty of the petals that are on the plant, but they're not looking at the actual roots. They're not checking out the soil. They're not seeing how deep these roots go. They're not seeing how rich this soil is. So what a lot of individuals, what really needs to be done is they need to take a step back and need to really check themselves. Detach from all of this physical shit. Let go of the holidays. There's nothing holy about them. It's actually breaking you up into pieces. It's separating you. It's keeping your spirit unaligned, or disaligned, or misaligned, I should say, from with your soul. So it's nothing holy about a so-called holiday, because holy means that it's all there, nothing missing, to be pure, whole. There's nothing whole about these days, because people are running around, as their partial self. They're not even partially being themselves. They're being something else. They're being possessed by something else. And this entity has convinced them that this is really something that they should do, and they should really gravitate their emotions around these different things. And some people use this because, our ancestors created not those perversions. Stop it. These are perversions. Stop making excuses for being a pervert. See, they have a saying, they say, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. And the problem is, a lot of people are in Rome and they're doing as the Romans do. See, Rome, or these parasites, they have a way of latching on and controlling your mind and making you think that, or controlling your body, controlling your spirit, making you think that you're in control, but you're really not. They make you think that you like things that you really don't like. They make you think that you want things that you really don't want. They make you think that these certain wants are needs or necessities, but they aren't. So you have to be very, 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 very alert and aware of what you're dealing with. You're dealing with very crafty sorcerers. But this information, source error, is, it's error. It's not accurate. So let's get to the root of things, and let's stop playing mundane games on a surface level. We have to really start fully applying ourselves, because what's going on right now isn't going to cut it.